In this video, we are going to now be talking about finding the area of a sector. So what that means is you have a circle and you're finding the area of pie slice, basically. Okay, so to find that, really all you have to do is, it's just going to be a fraction of the circle. So that is exactly my formula. So depends if you're in degrees or if you're in radians. But your equation is angle out of 360. That is your fraction of the area. Okay, so you just got to figure out whatever that is and then multiply by the area. And if you're in radians, the only difference is it's going to be whatever your angle is out of 2 pi is how you'll figure out your fraction rather than out of 360. But then after that, it's exactly the same times your area. All right, so let's do a couple problems. So it says find the area of the sector with the central angle. So central angle is that angle that we talked about up here. That would be that right there. And it's 45 degrees in a circle with a radius of 10, round to the nearest hundredths. So our area is fraction of a circle times the area of that circle. And so our radius is 10. Let's roll that in the picture. So 10 squared. And then we'll just let the calculator do the work. All right, so we're going to take 45 divided by 360 and then times pi times 10 squared. That's it. So we let the calculator do all the math here, and it does ask us to run in the nearest hundredth, so that 9 is making the 6 to 7. So 39.27. All right, so, but it's an area measurement. So since it's an area measurement, you're looking at inches squared. Okay, so let's do another one. All right, so find the area of the nearest hundredth or nearest tenth of a sector that has a central angle of 1.6 radians. So we have some sort of an angle. I don't know. And our angle 1.6, and it has a radius of 7.2. Okay, so to find our area, it is fraction. Now this time, since we're in radians, it's going to be out of 2 pi rather than out of 360. And then we're multiplying that by pi times 7.2 squared. So fraction of the area. Just let the calculator do the math for us. So 1.6 divided by 2 pi. We have to be careful on this one. To do the 2 pi, we have to do 1.6 divided by, and then parentheses 2 pi. If we don't do that, what this will do is it'll take 1.6 and divide it by 2 and then multiply it by pi if you don't put the 2 pi in its own parenthesis. So, and then there is another way around, but let me show you this way. And then we'll multiply it by pi times 7.2 squared. Okay, so that's one way to do it. There are a couple other options. That what you also have available is on your calculator, if it's a little bit newer, you have a fraction option, which is right where that F1 is right there. So another option is to go here, and then you're going to take that very first one, numerator divided by denominator, and then you can do that of 1.6 divided by 2 pi. So that one will work it okay because that 2 pi stays in the denominator. And then you can multiply it by pi times 7.2 squared. All right. Or the last one is every single time you're trying to do this, and if it's in radians, what I would do is that pi in the denominator is going to cancel that pi in the numerator. And so really, you can just do 1.6 divided by 2, because the pi would have canceled, and then just multiply it by 7.2 squared. So that's another option. All right, we're going to the nearest tenth, so the 7 makes the 4 5. So 41.5. And we are doing area, so it's going to be inches squared. All right. So last shape is this. We are trying to find the area of this little sliver right here. All right. So to find that, basically what we got to figure out are two things. We want to figure out the area of the pie slice. Okay, so we want to figure out the area of that whole thing. And then what we want to do is cut out the area of the triangle. Okay, so if we cut out the triangle out of this, what we'll have left is the sliver. Okay, so we need to find the area of the sector first. Okay, so if we find the area of the sector, we're looking at, they give us an angle measurement of 90. So it is 90 out of 360. So there's our fraction of the area. To give us the radius of 9.25. That 6.54 is actually this dotted line right here. So we have 9.25. So pi times 9.25 squared. And if we throw that all into the calculator, we're going to take 90 divided by 360 times pi times 9.25 squared. All right, so we'll say 67.20, round to the nearest hundredth here in the end. So 67.20. All right, so that is the area of this. And then we want the area of the triangle, so we can cut it out. So the area of a triangle, just to refresh your memory, is 1/2 base times height. And the great news is they're giving us a right triangle. So that right triangle has base and height on it. All right, so we can do 1/2 base of 9.25. And then the height is 9.25. So our area is going to be, so 1/2 times 9.25 times 9.25. So we'll cut that off here. So 42.78. All right. So just so you know, they gave us some other values, and the other values would be a different way of looking at the triangle. So if I kind of roll that triangle, so like this, where that dotted line is the height, then the base is the 13.08, and the height is 6.54. All right, so that's the same triangle, so it should have the same area as this. So if we do the math on that one, and we do 0.5 times base times height, you get a crazy close value. Both should be acceptable. The reason that they're off a little bit is the math that it would take to figure out the height and to figure out the base. You'd have to do some trigonometry stuff, which would force you to round. So as soon as you start rounding, that starts the potential that the area is off a little bit. Where these values are not rounded, those are just 9.25. So that would be the most accurate way of doing it, but not that that should be wrong. So it was only off by 0.1 because that would have been a 7.7. But basically, they're essentially the same thing. So there is kind of this plus or minus a little bit of wiggle room because of the rounding that would have to take place on that. But To find the area of the sliver, we're going to subtract 2. So, so that area is going to be 67.2 minus 42.78, which turns out to be 24 point something, 67.20 minus 42.78. So 2442. All right, and then since it's an area measurement, we're going to finish it off by labeling it with an area squared, inches squared. All right, so that was finding the area of a sector.